Welcome to your best bets. Second major of the golf season is upon us. It's the 106th PGA Championship down in Louisville this week at Valhalla Golf Club, only 4 hours away. Episode 183, and I feel like it's a reunion of sorts. I was kind of looking into record books here at the podcast, 182 episodes prior to this one, and trying to figure out the last time the three of us got together, and it was January 2022, and that's almost 2.5 years. Time goes by very, very quickly, and we were discussing Cam Smith beating John Rahm at the Century Tournament Champions in that episode, which feels like ages ago in the golf world. A lot has happened since then. I'm joined tonight by the Indiana Tech golf czar, so to speak. I like that term, Mark Benegate. Hello, Mark.
Hi, Phil. Yeah, czar is one way to czar is one term for it, I suppose. But yeah, no, I'm excited to be here. I obviously got your text earlier in the day, and I was fired up to join. It worked out perfectly. It's a great week in the game of golf, and I'm excited to talk about it with two brilliant minds, brilliant golf minds. So happy to be here.
Yeah, glad you were able to. I had kind of given up about 6 o'clock. I'm like, okay, it's gonna be Johnny and I. We're gonna run this thing, and then boom, I was like, yes, Mark's in. I'm ready to have him. Johnny Strouser, in a secret location, it appears. No, Johnny's on a little golf trip in Michigan. Glad you could join from what appears to be just a lovely hotel room.
Well, my captor said I cannot disclose of where I'm at. So, but I'm healthy. I'm eating well, and the people watching, you do not have to worry about anything like that. So we're good on that aspect there. So, you know, I really wanted to join to talk about the PGA Championship. Obviously it's another major and everything, so it's going to be fun to discuss it. And yeah, on a played 36 holes today, 36 tomorrow, and then 36 on Thursday. So if you don't hear back from me sometime in the next couple days, send help.
The healthy diets of golf, the next 3 days for you, and then it leads into the weekend in a major championship. It's a pretty lovely 5 or 6 days, I would say.
Yeah. This will be good. I don't like to miss major championship coverage when they have it on, live coverage and everything. But I'm up in northern Michigan, get to play Arcadia Bluffs and the Arcadia South course, and I've never played those golf courses before. So bucket list golf courses. Hopefully we get some good weather, and I brought the battery pack, so I might, as long as I got some cell service up there, might have to watch a little golf and play a little golf at the same time.
Mentioned a couple days ago, I was pretty jealous of that little venture you're making, and I'm sure we'll get some photos later in the week from you on social media. I really am happy the two of you are with me because the three of us, I know we really, really, really geek out over major championship golf. Um, it's an opportunity now to get the best players in the world together, which now we know that doesn't happen very often for a lot of reasons, and we're not going to dive into that tonight. But I'm excited about that. 16 days a year we get to enjoy major championship golf, and when you break it down like that, it's there's just not a lot of an opportunity to really enjoy it. So when it's here, when it's the week of, I try to immerse myself in all the coverage, all the content I can. I'm diving into Brandel Shamplee's takes on live from. I want to see what Johnson Wagner's up to tonight after we get done recording. So I am pumped. I'm psyched for this. It feels like a lot of awesome storylines are converging. Um, yeah, I'm ready. Mark.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Phil. Like, I think with um I'm still a little bit I don't want to say locked in, but I'm still getting used to the PGA Championship in May. And I know that's not a topic of discussion. It makes sense, obviously, with the introduction of the Olympics and, the tour's push in really trying to get the FedEx Cup, to the place where they feel it belongs. Obviously, they have a significant investment there from FedEx, so they kind of try and reserve that last month of the season for the playoffs. But no, I think like you said, 16 days of the year we get this. And it's kind of bittersweet to know that, hey, Sunday night we've already had 8 of those days. And it's like we're just getting into our golf season here in the Midwest. So a lot of great storylines though. I think you mentioned kind of in your lead in to get the best players in the world together. I think it's something that at least I know me personally, I took it for granted, right? Always having the top 10 players in the world tee it up, every week or seemingly all the big events, right? But I think Bryson DeChambeau's opening round at the Masters really kind of I guess sort of hit home what it means to have the true top players in the world. And now with the rise of Scotty Scheffler and likes of Will Zalatoris, and I mean it's just a who's who on the PGA Tour. Now you get these stalwarts from the live circuit together. I'm just excited to watch those guys mix it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, it's yeah, I guess you flash back to the last time the three of us were together, truly a different golf landscape. And um, yeah, I mean now, and we've mentioned this on the podcast a couple times the last 6 months to a year that truly the only events that really matter now are the majors. And from a legacy standpoint, and of course, guys want to win events and win elevated events, make a lot of money, and that's meaningful. But I think for a lot of these guys, it is now all about the majors, and it feels like that more than it ever has. And with that said, guys, we I always think of different ways we can talk about kind of the top stories as we come into a week of a major. And today I was like, you know what? Let's do a draft of the best storylines, the top storylines as we come into the week, and each pick 3 storylines. And then we'll grade ourselves and we'll see who has the best trio of storylines at the end of it in a really um, pretty nonsensical fashion of doing this. But it's a good starting point to just figure out what are we following this week? What are the 9 stories that we're following? And really there's probably a lot more, but what are from like a mainstream golf audience, what are they looking at? We're the hardcore fans. What are the mainstream fans looking at? So I assigned Johnny the first pick. We're gonna do a snake draft version. Um, I have a feeling it's going to be one of 2 different stories he's going to pick. So much anticipated the top pick, Johnny.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be one of the 2 guys that we're most interested in, and I thought the top one is going to be Roy McIlroy. Um, you know, you could have picked the other guy who's probably going to be picked next, but what with Rory winning last week in fairly dominant fashion on the weekend, and then winning his previous event in the team event with Shane Lowry, can he can he get off the drought that he's had for a decade there and win another major championship? And then you look at it, he's been playing some great golf here, which was complete opposite coming into the Masters. He seemed to be kind of lost with his golf swing and wasn't making crucial putts, and he was still putting those big numbers up. And he's really kind of eliminated a lot of those errors, and he's playing kind of well within himself, and he's kind of trusting his game. And if he has a bad stretch of a couple holes, he's not shooting himself out of the round by shooting 72, 73. He's turning those into 68, 69s there. then you add on top of that the news today that he filed for divorce, so he's got that going on in his personal life. I'm sure that's got had to have been known for quite some time. So I don't know really how much that's going to affect this week, but you just never know. You never know, until he gets out there and plays those. So, the golf course is going to be tailor made to fit to his game, and I'm very intrigued to see if he's going to break my heart again, and not win another major, or if we're going to see the same Rory for the last couple of weeks there.
Yeah, I was talking to you about this. It's definitely a too good to be true, feels like situation, right? It's come off a
Yep.
dominant win at Quail Hollow, a place you boned, and you go back to the course where you won your last major, uh, nearly 10 years ago. It's almost too much of a fairy tale. It's too clean of a version for this to happen, but also why not? The way he looked on Sunday was that was like peak Rory, where he's kind of gives no F's, right? And he's just he became the killer again that I remember he used to be back when he won his last major. Mark, any takes on Rory before we get to your pick?
No, I think Johnny covers it well. I still I come from the school of thought, Phil, that if you put everybody everyone who walks the planet right now with their absolute best stuff, in my opinion, I think Rory McIlroy is the best player in the world. I think he's got the best golf swing. Aesthetically, I think obviously, I know that point can be debated, but it's evident in that stretch last week on Sunday from 8 through 15 where he just took over. You see it obviously where we were talking NBA playoffs. You see what Anthony Edwards is doing and Tyrese Halliburton, guys that have the ability to just take over, like kick it into a different dimension. I think Rory, I think that he's one of the few players that has that capability. And you alluded to kind of the attitude, just no F's given, right? And I think when he dials that in, obviously Johnny mentioned the story that broke today in his personal life. Maybe obviously not speculating there, but perhaps that could be, it could be the fuel he needs, right? I thought it was funny to your point though, his post round interview. I think Amanda Balionis asked him basically like, PGA Championship next week, how's it looking? And he made a comment. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but basically he said that, yeah, it's like all signs are pointing towards like all the similarities between here and 14. His game's in a great spot. Like Johnny said, just how is he going to break our hearts, right? So it'll be interesting to see. That was actually going to be my storyline. I'll get right into my draft. So I had to pivot there late, but naturally at number two, it's gotta be Scotty Scheffler. I think that it's been fun for me as a self-proclaimed golf nerd. It's been fun to see Scotty Scheffler, into the sports world, right? Like I think for quite a long time, obviously, whether it was given his slow start to his career, obviously he was on the tour for a while, right? And he was just another nice player. So I think in the golf world, I think his run has been appreciated, but now after obviously the Masters and then what he did the week after at the Heritage, I think he's just put the sports world kind of on notice. Looking at some of his statistics, I mean, if you look at Scheffler's, I think his last five starts, if we go back to Bay Hill, so he's wins Bay Hill, wins the Players, T2 at Houston, wins Augusta, wins Heritage. I don't think he's finished outside of the top 20 in 12 or so starts this year. You know, his stranglehold he has on the number one ranking. Um, you know, it's just so far and away, statistically speaking, it's the best. And I think Tiger made some comments. You know, he is the player that, you know, you actually talked about it. I listened to the podcast. You were going back to Johnny's win last weekend at Little City, and you had mentioned something like Tiger said about Scotty Scheffler. You said, "Hey, Johnny's going to hit it good enough. It's just a matter of making some putts, and if you make a hole, a couple putts, I mean, he's going to be there." So I think it'll just be, I think it'll be a compelling storyline all week to see, you know, what kind of start Scheffler can get off to. Obviously, he started somewhat slowly at Harbor Town and then just slowly asserted his kind of asserted his dominance. But I think when we are sitting here thinking about it Sunday night, kind of on your next show as you review the PGA Championship, I just feel that Scheffler is going to be a guy that you know you're gonna be talking about.
His last finish outside the top 20 mark, FedEx St. Jude, first event of the FedEx Cup playoffs last August. Um, it's it's truly an insane run, but I hesitate to call it a run because this is largely who he's been for 2.5 seasons now. So basically since the start of 2022, when he got his first win in Phoenix. This is who he's been. Um, the stats, the data back it up. Um, and what I just think I like about him, we've seen Victor Hovland, who looked like the best player in the world, the FedEx Cup. He's kind of fallen off the face of the earth because he kind of did the thing Tiger did in 2000. Like let's work on it, let's make it better, let's change things. And now he's in the wilderness, man. He's trying to find it, and I just think what Scotty's doing is extremely sustainable and long term. Like his floor is just but big floor and ceiling guy. I know you guys know that his floor is so high. I mean, it might be the highest floor that I can remember. I mean, if you want to talk about ceilings and Rory, you think his best is the best. It's arguable. Um, but man, Scotty's floor is way higher than anyone else's. Um, I do like that take though, Mark. And going back years, 15, 20 years, however long, you back in the day, man, you were one hell of a take smith though. I mean, you would throw some takes out. So I feel like you're like pulling a Rory from 2014. You're going back, you're pulling out the takes. I like it. I like it.
Yeah. Well, just wait, man. I'm in for a doozy. You know, the last thing I'll say about Scheffler before we get to your pick, I think what makes him like what is it, right? Like obviously it's you know, you can break down the golf swing and you can break down how good it is at impact. But it's unique, right? It's a guy that obviously clearly owns his swing. Not really ever been concerned with. I mean, there's not one instructor in the world, right, that's going to teach that footwork, say 15 years ago. That's a guy that his golf swing goes to any, you know, people are going to poke holes through it, right? So what is it that makes him so good? And I think we are doing a disservice to his talent just by not talking about how steady the mental approach is, right? I think that it's been well documented that this guy is grounded, man. Like he is 100% comfortable in his own skin, comfortable with where he's at in his life. And I think, um, you know, that just goes so far in these results. And like you said, sustainability. I think that's why it is so sustainable. You know, I think it's a guy that just does not ride the wave. I don't think he ever panicked, you know, when the wins weren't coming. And I don't think the wins now like change him literally outside of, you know, padding his bank account more and more. I think this guy just loves to play golf. I think he loves to win. I think he loves to compete. And it's just very steady.
Yeah, well said. All right. I have picks 3 and 4. I don't. I hope you guys don't feel like these blend together. But with pick three, um, I'm looking at Brooks Koepka defending his title. Um, Kind of in the battle of the Titans, it feels like, right? Brooks is coming off of a live win. What does it mean? I don't really know. But it's coming off a live win. Rory's coming off a win, and Scotty's coming off a series of wins, of course, 5. Um, Brooks Koepka has 5 majors. If he gets to 6, he's 1 major away from Arnold fucking Palmer. I mean, I don't know if it's really being discussed enough. I mean, again, he gets to 6 majors. There's 11 guys in the history of golf that have more majors. I think it's a golf course that really fits his game. I think the PGA fits what he does and how he plays extremely well. I told Johnny, I said this feels like a junior Bethpage type of week to Bethpage 2019 when it felt like 5 guys could win that tournament, and it was he and DJ coming down the stretch. Obviously, Valhalla not as long as Bethpage, not as big a ballpark, but some of the elements I think will apply this week. And thing about Brooks is he just does a lot of pretty much everything pretty well. Like great driver of the ball, pretty good iron player, reliable putter, and to use probably something he would appreciate, he's just tough as hell. And to use a sports analogy, which I'm sure he'd appreciate, um, I just don't think you're going to out tough him, on Saturday and Sunday at a major. So Brooks Koepka, no, that's my top storyline since you guys sold the top 2. Thoughts on Brooks, Johnny?
I I agree with what you said. I mean, I think you got to look at him, and I've talked about it. The way the live golf schedule is set up is, they have that that event shortly before each of the majors there, and I think that's a big tell of how his game is. I think he understands his place in major championship history, and you know, that win there was a big deal. What's wild to me is how poorly he played at the live event before the Masters and then at the Masters. And then suddenly he turns it on and he beats that field of guys there. So it's very interesting to me. And you're right. I mean, he's been during this generation of golfers, he's the best major performer that there is. I mean, he's done more with, I guess you could say, less because you know doesn't really play as hard, or he's not dedicating to his craft week in and week out and grinding away like the PGA Tour guys, or like the PGA Tour schedule, I should say. So I really like him this week, and I almost like him. I almost don't like how much I like him this week because you're right. The golf course fits him. He hits it far enough. He's tough as hell, and it's going to be an interesting thing to see how he's able to play, and if he's able to defend the PGA and come away with 1 major from Arnold Palmer, which when you put it in that kind of perspective, it's pretty fascinating. It's kind of mind blowing in a way though, because we always speak of Arnold Palmer as one of the greats, one of the great ambassadors of this game, and Brooks could be 1 major short. So he was going to be on my list of being a compelling story, and I'm all the way with you on that. That I think he's going to play pretty well this week.
Mark, any thoughts on Brooks? Like his chances?
Yeah, I like his chances. I've got an Arnold Palmer take, but it's not for tonight. I think that yeah, I mean I think you guys covered all the points, right? I think it's you mentioned obviously Valhalla is not quite as long as Bethpage was, but I still think you've got to drive it well. You've got to drive it accurately with the rough going to be up. smallish greens, and obviously, so that combination, I think any golf course you play, whether it's, Valhalla, Bethpage, you know, example, like if you drive it well, you can play well, but especially at Valhalla, smaller greens. So I think players that aren't necessarily as long off the tee, they're going to be coming into these with some more mid irons, and you take a guy like Kepka. I mean, everybody's long now, but I think Kepka can really kind of flex there off the tee. And like you said, I don't really know what his win meant. It's still just it's still hard to kind of quantify. Sure, those are great fields, but just how it fits in the grand scheme remains to be seen. But no, I love Brooks this week. I think anyone that doesn't like his chances, I would kind of question where their head's at.
Yeah, and I have told myself with Brooks, I just won't let him sneak up on me like I have at a couple majors where he was clear oversight. I just won't let it happen. Um, let's see if he brings the pride of Team Smash this week to Louisville, and throw that in there at some point. Um, all right. So my second pick, as we snake back around, overall number 4, um, just the live guys in general. I think I mean I hate to say it, I really do like 3 or 4 of these guys. Obviously Brooks, there's right there, but kind of like Bryson this week. I feel like this is a really nice Bryson course. Started with the PGA last year, Oak Hilly, and I think he finished like 5th, 6th, something like that. As Mark mentioned, played really well at Augusta, had the lead for a while when it was in contention up in, at least until the front 9 on Sunday. I think it's just a really nice spot for Bryson. I always thought he'd win a second major at a PGA or US Open. Those seem to be the two that I think would fit his game best. And um, I have to say I miss Bryson being on the PGA Tour, not because I'm necessarily a fan of his, but um, just some of the ridiculousness that he brings, and the quotes, the pressers, rulings on the course, stuff like that. I just kind of miss all of that with him. Um, and I do say he's come a long way as far as kind of figuring out who he is, I think, as a person. When he came on tour, I think he wanted to be kind of this innovator in golf, and trying golf a different way, and I think now he's comfortable in his own skin with who he is. Um and so I'm really interested to see what Bryson does this week. Rahm is totally under the radar, and I'm fascinated to see what he does. He's kind of just had these middling events on live, hasn't won yet. um Again, another golf course you would think would be really nice for him. I still think the whole Rom thing this year has been really, really weird. Some of his quotes have been really, really weird about missing the PGA Tour and certain events he'd like to play in the future. And he feels like one of the bridge guys that are going to kind of mend fences down the road potentially, but he just seems different and off. And I've mentioned he just doesn't seem happy. And but I don't know if that's kind of flowing into his golf or not. But interested to see what Rahm does. Um, Guys like Cam Smith, Patrick Reed, I don't think this suits their game, but maybe if it turns into a scramble fest, those guys could play well. So the live guys overall, I'm really interested to see how they do as a group. And pick number 5 is back to Mark Beneke.
Yeah. Um, so pick number 5 for me is going to be, I'm happy this is still on the board. I think it's Jordan Spieth, looking for
Way under the
looking
radar,
for
right?
what's that?
Way under the radar these days,
Well,
isn't it?
well, wait, yeah, it really is. And I think it just tells you, I think there's I think if you poll your average golf fan, right, some people realize that golf is as good as it's ever been. Others, seem to think that, well, if it's not an elevated field event, like why watch, right? Well, I mean, I see both sides of that, but yeah, you're right. It's really under the radar. I mean, here's a guy that, um, I had mentioned Scotty Scheffler kind of breaking out of the golf world into the mainstream sports world. I think Jordan Spieth was maybe one of the first guys post Tiger to really kind of fit that mold, right? Good Morning America appearances and more of a pop culture figure than just a golfer on the PGA Tour. So yeah, to have this storyline kind of flying under the radar, it's crazy. Obviously his form hasn't been great. He hasn't been playing the best of golf to say the least, but I just think that he had a slightly, I mean, made the cut at least last week at Quail Hollow. So he's hitting shots, obviously it's a golf course.
It's a no cut event.
Wait. It's a no cut event.
Sorry. It was a no cut event, but well, he played 4 days. He didn't, yeah.
He didn't withdraw.
See if you can edit that out, Phil. If not, I guess I'm just shit out of luck. But
I love it.
no, I just think that I think that if he can get the putter rolling, it's not a golf course where I don't think you have to be perfect. You had mentioned if it kind of gets into a scramble fest, certain guys on the back end of the live, those players say 12 to 20, they might get into the hunt. I think it's a relatively, shouldn't say an easy golf course to get the ball up and down, but I think the greens are relatively flat from what I remember, from what I've read. So I think if Jordan Spieth can kind of get the putter rolling, he'll be right there. And I think what a great storyline too. I think he's one of the few players, again, that can capture the attention, right? I think if his name is on the leaderboard, if he's in the top three coming down the stretch Sunday afternoon, golf's going to benefit from it because I think he brings eyeballs. I think one of the few players that really can attract a casual sports fan. So I think golf's rooting for a Jordan Spieth Grand Slam. He obviously, I don't know if you guys heard the comments he made about the PGA Championship recently. I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but he basically, and I hope I don't have the wrong player here, but knowing I just made that error on the no cut event last week, but no, he was talking about how the PGA Championship, you can make an argument that it's like, a handful of other tournaments they play throughout the course of the year.
Yeah, he
And
did
I
say.
think, yeah, I think, maybe a little bit disrespectful to the PGA Championship. I think the PGA of America, obviously it's their crown jewel. But I think he was just kind of stating what golfers think, as the major championships are concerned. I think everyone, if I asked you guys, hey, what would you like to win first? I doubt that you guys are going to say you'd want to win the PGA Championship. It'd be a nice one to pick up, but um so yeah, I think Jordan Spieth in his quest to complete the career slam is a very worthy storyline, and for it to be available at 5 just tells you what an exciting event that we're kind of in store for.
Mark, I'm surprised it went that high.
Really?
Yes. And I don't know if you've heard some of any of the past 2 months, 3 months of just some of these podcasts where Johnny and I have talked about Spieth. I'm gonna throw the question back to Mark as I asked Johnny, I don't know, maybe a month ago. I said, do we live in a world where Jordan Spieth, and I threw Justin Thomas in there, have already played the best golf of their career? And
Hmm.
I think for Spieth, might be a definitive yes. He'll never reach the heights of 2015, 2016, 2017, that 3-year stretch. JT is another story, but I also respect Spieth because it feels like he wants it as bad as ever. He's he's been at the top. He's trying to claw his way back, but man, he just seems to. It just seems like it's always something. Like right,
Well,
the stats show he's driving the ball really well this year, but iron play isn't there, and the putter isn't there like it used to be. I mean, Data Golf has him as the 35th best player in the world.
yeah. I think to answer that question, Phil, I don't think it's a stretch to say that his best golf is behind him, but I think, um, if we kind of look at this from a legacy standpoint, I think if you would ask Jordan Spieth, does he really care his best golf's behind him? Maybe he doesn't, right? This is about 1 week to cement a legacy as one of you talk about, Kepka being if Kepka can get it done, he's one major off of Arnold Palmer. And when we talk about when all this is said and done, whenever it all ends, right? To be able to say that you are one of and now shame on me as a golf nut, what, 6 guys won the Grand Slam, right? Nicholas Player, Tiger, Sarazen, Palmer. I don't know. Forget that. But my point is, I don't think you're wrong in stating that his best golf is behind him, but can he catch obviously time's on his side, right? He's not a player that he is not habitually injured. Body relatively in good health. So he's going to have a lot of chances, sure. But I think it's a crucial week, and I just think that he maybe I'm still living in that 2014, 2015 space, but I still think it's not out of the question that he could find some magic and compel the world on Sunday afternoon.
As we found out last week, talking to Johnny, that's the guy he's rooting for. That's his favorite player right now. Johnny,
Did I
thoughts
say
on
that?
you did say that, yeah. Remember I said, who are you rooting for in golf these
Oh
days?
yeah.
Just outside
I,
who you
yeah.
outside of money
You're
on
right.
that speed. Yeah, that's your guy now.
All right. Okay.
Johnny has picks 6 and 7.
Ludwig Abear. That's one guy I think we've kind of forgotten about. Obviously, withdrew from a couple events because of the I think it was a swollen knee. Um, almost had a good chance to win the match. Obviously he's an all-world talent, probably the next great European player. That's going to be dominant at some point. Can he follow up that really great first major championship that Masters, and can he contend here at Valhalla? I mean, the golf course, seemingly fits his game, and it really I don't know if there's a golf course that doesn't fit Ludwig Ebert's game, but are we going to see still among the other young and talented players, but especially him, I'm very intrigued to see how he'll bounce back from a stretch where he hasn't played that much, and whether he can contend. It seems like it's kind of a smaller storyline because he's really in the grand scheme of things with major championships. But I mean, we're talking about a guy that you know had a good chance to win the Masters and everything. So I think it is something that I'm very intrigued at just to see how he's gonna be able to sustain it. Because we looked at the fall, um, when he kind of came out and he won one of the events, and he was just week after week after week after week in the fall series where he was playing really really good golf. Took a little bit of a break and then started up in Hawaii and didn't play well, and kind of you know didn't have the greatest finishes, wasn't playing all that great, and then come to the Masters played really, really good. So I'm very curious to see how he's going to be looking. Not only that, I did put a futures bet on him. I think it was actually during Masters week there. Um, I don't know if I would have done it with the injury just because of the lack of playing, and that always concerns me because if we can't see these guys playing, it's like, how much can you really trust him at the number there? But I mean, I'm kind of curious of what you guys think. Not only with his golf game, but how you think he'll rebound after the Masters finish, and then subsequently the break after that.
Go ahead, Mark.
I think he's here to stay. I think every sign for this kid is can't miss. Um, to perform like he did on, we were talking a moment ago, on the biggest stage, in my opinion, the Masters, Augusta National, that's it. I mean, that's the pinnacle of this sport. Obviously, that can be debated, but just to see that the moment was not too big for him there. I don't think this is a guy, obviously if he can stay healthy, I just think he checks every possible box there is to check. I think every measurable is off the charts. I know you guys broke down the NFL draft, and you get these once in a generation type players, right? These,
Caleb
not
Williams.
just because I'm a Colt, yeah, Caleb Williams, that's right. Not as a Colts homer, but Andrew Luck. They talked about him as a true can't miss. I think Bear, obviously fits he's that type of generational talent. So I don't think he has any trouble, Johnny. I think like you said, it's kind of a secondary storyline, if you will. I think that's something that the people it's very much in the forefront of the minds of people who are kind of in the golf world. I think he is a very um it's just going to be fun to watch kind of his career trajectory. And he's right at the beginning here, and if you look at just I can't believe that Rory, when obviously won last week at Quail Hollow, they showed the pictures of him winning there in 2010, and it was his first win in the States. And it's like, gosh, it's almost been 15 years. I remember watching that, right? And I think it's just, I think for me, watching Abear, it's like we're kind of getting to do that all over again. I think this guy is going to go down as one of the all-time greats. Um, and I think it'll just be fun to watch him kind of get that run started.
Yeah, I've mentioned future number one player in the world. I think I said this last summer before really he got going, and everything I've seen is what I thought he could do and more. And sitting here today, number six player in the world already. I mean, are you kidding me? Um, yeah, he's a robot. He's insane. His ball swings effective, simple, unbelievable amount of power, and he's just going to get. And yeah, he's got it. I don't like him as much as you guys do this week, but long term, high ceiling. Yeah, 7.
Oh, it's me, right?
Yes, last pick.
Want to talk about another guy who's been playing good golf recently here, and whether he could win a major or win this week, I guess. It's going to be Xander Schauffele. I mean, I think he's as talented as any of these dudes out here. I mean, he's every bit as talented. You'd think he's got the pull makeup to win consistently, and like we talk about, I've talked about this before. Many of our major championship previews is this going to be the week? And can he win a major championship period, or is this going to be one of those things like like a late bloomer as far as closing out like Phil Mickelson? It took forever to win a major championship, but he played great golf last week, and I mean, he really didn't do much to lose it. Once Rory went through that stretch where he just was insane, in the middle of his Sunday round there. So, he was far and away the second best player last week, and he's contended and seemingly most every single major championship. You could almost mark him down for a top 10, but it's like, is this going to be the week? Because this golf course, again, I mean, he hits it long. Xander's hitting it extremely long right now. He's a very solid putter, great iron player. This fits him, and it's just like, is this going to be the week that he breaks free and wins a major championship? I'll have my answer in a little bit here, but it's going to be based on how he's playing coming into this event. I think this is as good a chance as any.
I figured someone would fire Xander out there, and he was on my list. I got a lot of Xander takes, and you could say last week, like, yeah, Rory clearly won it, but I gotta tell you, like, between holes 10 and 12, 10 to 13, when he was gonna have to show up to the fight, he didn't show up to the fight. He's like, all right, I'm good. I'm good. And you know what? It's a very comfortable spot for Xander. Very comfy spot. Yeah, I'll lead by 5 going to Saturday, and I'll take my runner up. Yeah. You mean it's a major coming up? Yeah, I'll take my back tour T6 and I'll go along. Yep, happy, comfortable spot for Xander. He just ain't it. He has so much talent, but he just ain't it. He'll have that putt on Sunday early where it's an 8-footer to keep the round going, and he's just gonna miss it. And he's missed them routinely throughout his career in key spots. And there is nothing that shows me he's ready to make that.
Wow, mentally soft, is that what you're calling him?
He's the anti-Brooks. He's the anti-Brooks.
Yeah. He's got a track record. I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah, he could win a major, but it's not going to be going out and shooting 66. It might be one of these, where par is a good score situation where he's 8th or 9th coming into the round, and he shoots 1 under, and everyone kind of falls apart. I could see him winning that, but where he's got to go out and get it, I just don't see it. Mark?
I think and unfortunately it's a you guys both bring up good points. Johnny obviously saying that he is as good as anyone. He's got every
No holes.
yeah, he's got no holes yet. He just seems to make habit of not rising to the occasion. And I know that's I don't say that lightly. Obviously, the guy's world class, and he's going to win. He's going to win plenty. He's going to win plenty, but is he ready right now? No. I mean, nothing that he has done has shown us anything differently. So I think if he ends up getting majors like Johnny said, I mean, he's likely going to be a late bloomer. This is a guy that at some point he's too talented. I feel like he is too talented not to win one. But I think, like you said, I think his game fits like a U.S. Open. Like I don't think he's going to shoot 65 on Sunday. And if he does shoot 65, it's going to be he starts the day 11 off the lead and he comes to finish tied for second. And it looks great on paper, but it's like, teeing off at 9 a.m. when the leaders are still in bed. Like, how good was it? Until he does it from one of those spots there late, second to last group. Yeah, I just don't think his game is nothing to do actually with his game. I take that back. Like, his game is ready, right? But he just hasn't proven anything yet. So,
All right, Mark, you got number 8.
um, I'm going to do it, and I know I'm going to be ridiculed, but it's Tiger Woods. It's Tiger Woods. I think that I think this is I can't believe I'm saying this, but not that he needs to prove anything. Like, to me, the man doesn't need to prove anything, but I think this is my last major championship that I go into with the glimmer of hope that he's going to fist pump his way to victory, right? Like, I think if he, I'm not, let me be clear. I'm not predicting a Tiger Woods victory. I'm saying there's still that little bit of hope in my head, um, that perhaps he could catch lightning in a bottle. But I think, his body, obviously, we don't need to be another podcast talking about Tiger. But to me, it's certainly a storyline. Uh, I'd be lying if I said, again, I know golf is good, but we're all somewhat in that generation where the first guy I look for Thursday morning, he goes off at 8:06 with Adam Scott and Keegan Bradley. I mean, his scorecard's going to be the one that I'm following. Is he healthy? Is he going to make it? We just don't know. There's so many unknowns. But obviously, great history around Valhalla. Would it really surprise anyone if he manages to shoot 2, 3, 4 under par Thursday? Maybe it would. Maybe it would be a big surprise, but at the same time, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. But back to what I was saying earlier, like, this is it, man. To me, I think this is it. Like, if he can, obviously it's been well documented that he wants to kind of gear up for the majors, play maybe one event per month. I think if he has a positive showing, I think that plan is still intact. Um, making the cut at the Masters proves to, maybe not the masses, obviously, with what happened over the weekend there, but I still think a motivated Tiger Woods, um, is as good as anyone. Like, it was proven at the Masters. Look at who's missed the cut there. Look at who um, conditions, golf course. It was too much for them through 36 holes. It was not too much for Tiger Woods. Like, Tiger Woods managed to make the cut. Obviously he says his game's not sharp. That was kind of his comments. He wished his game was a little bit sharper. His body's okay. Um, but again, I mean, I think if you look at Valhalla, I think his short game was as good as anyone's through 36 holes at Augusta. Some of the chip shots he hit, and if you, um, I know playing partners through Thursday and Friday at Augusta, they said that people didn't understand how good he was chipping and pitching the golf ball. Again, if that, obviously it's different around the greens at Valhalla than Augusta National, but I think if that part translates, he's going to be able to get the ball up and down. His short game is fairly sharp. He's still, to me, one of the best iron players on the planet. A guy that consistently hits his number. So it's just going to be compelling. And I think if he flops, who's to say what a flop is? I guess it would be a missed cut or a withdrawal. I think a WD would be more of a flop than a missed cut, but it'll just be interesting to watch him. I can't wait.
Was very pro Tiger, very pro Tiger. You know, Mark, I feel some of those same things, but then I also feel conflicted. Like, I almost feel kind of sad watching him finish tournaments struggling. Like, he didn't break 80, right? The last round of the Masters, right? And I know Friday was awesome when it was extremely hard, and he played amazing. But it just seems like the endurance, the stamina to play 72 holes isn't there. And I almost come to the end where I'm like, I don't know, what's the point? You know what I mean? I feel very conflicted, and I've talked about this a
Yeah.
lot. I don't know where Johnny falls in that, but I'm like, I just wonder how long is he going to continue doing this and not seeing a top 20 in a major, right? Like, or where he can feel like he truly has a chance to win. Tiger only cares about wins. It's a lot to put his body through, it sounds like, to even get prepped for these things. And I just wonder long term, how much longer is he gonna lose?
Well,
So,
and Phil, to your point, not to jump in front of Johnny here, but to your point, um, I think Tiger, like obviously we're not in his mind, but he's got to be close, right? Like knowing what his body's been through and um, being on record consistently is saying, yeah, like I'm gonna play as long as my game's good enough to compete on this level. And I think that this week, I think the golf world's going to get their answers, but I think Tiger too is going to get some answers. It's not a super difficult golf course. You mentioned endurance. Obviously, this isn't a course that's going to test his body physically like Augusta National did. Um, so like if not now, when? Like he's not going to be able to practice like he once was, but I think it's a big week, and I think Tiger's going to get a lot of his answers whenever his tournament concludes.
anything to add on Tiger?
I, I mean, I'm glad it was brought up because I mean, he's always going to be a compelling story and part of the overall story of what was going on here or what's going on in a major championship or whenever he plays. But I don't have personally any expectations for him. I mean, I hope he can play 4 rounds, and I hope that he's got to build this strength up. But not being able to play a lot of golf and a lot of competitive golf. Um, because of his back and because of the leg and everything like that. He's fighting against time, like we've said, and he's got to get the repetitions. And that's kind of how he was able to win the Masters a few years ago was he was able to stay healthy long enough to play a little bit. And he really just kind of played and practiced so much leading into the Masters that his game was very, very sharp. But if he's got to play a tournament and then take a couple weeks off of touching a club and just working out to um, to get his golf game back and everything, and just so he's healthy enough to swing a golf club and everything, it's just kind of not really that's not really the best formula for being competitive. And at this point, you know, making the cut is something, and that was one of the more amazing feats of his career was to make the cut in that kind of a situation at Augusta. To make it 20 million cuts in a row, at Augusta, which was just amazing. But I don't know. I'm okay with whatever he wants to do, and I feel you're right when you say that you almost feel bad and everything, but you kind of don't because this is part of the process. But when do we keep resetting the process? Because it always seems to have a setback with a surgery or something like that. And you know, these guys that he's got to beat isn't Bob May and Chris DeMarco and what is it, plumbers and plumbers
Plumbers
and
and firemen.
firemen. I mean, these guys are insane
Uh,
how good they are. Like
yeah.
and I've said it. I think I've said it every podcast how insanely good these guys are, and he's playing guys more than half his age. It's just reality. So there's no like for me, there's no finality to this event, like what Mark was saying. I don't necessarily agree with that, but maybe because I've already kind of checked out as far as a chance of him winning again. I mean, for that matter.
Wow, what a drive-by. And Bob May, Chris DeMarco. Didn't see that coming tonight, but
Well, I figure Bob May was perfect because he's at Valhalla,
yeah.
and then Chris DeMarco is he's a good guy to pick on.
Can I say the 2000 PGA was one of the five greatest tournaments ever, like ever.
Oh,
That was
easy.
like if it's ever on the greatest rounds of golf on the Golf Channel, like you have to watch that. That was one of the best Sundays in golf history. incredibly entertaining. You had the the true underdog of Bob May against Tiger in his peak.
Peak Tiger.
Peak Tiger. I mean, just birdies after birdie. I mean, it was unreal. Great clutch putts by both guys. I mean, it was awesome. It was awesome. If you've forgotten how good it was epic. Gary McCord with an unbelievable call in the playoff, the whole thing. It was awesome.
Holy, you're right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Shout out Gary McCord.
That was he's running it in.
He's running it in. Yeah. Yeah, it was awesome. All right, I got pick 9. I don't feel good about any of these. I was going to use Tiger if Mark didn't. Some possibilities I have. The PGA discovering its identity. I feel like since Bethpage in 19, kind of like a junior U.S. Open lately, compared to all the PGAs before, where I feel like it didn't have an identity. That's a possibility. I had JT written down, hometown boy, getting those feels back, coming home, trying to find himself again. I got Wyndham Clark written down. Like, why is Wyndham Clark not regarded more of as a potential superstar? It's kind of an interesting. And I was thinking about this today. Like, why not Wyndham Clark and why Jordan Spieth? Why is Spieth such a fan favorite? And everyone seems to kind of shit on Wyndham Clark. It's can't really figure that one out. But I'm landing on Max Homa, who is a considerable fan favorite, and he's one of these guys that bridges from the hardcore fans like ourselves to the mainstream fans, the casual fan, and Max finally the last 2 majors got a top 10 in the Open last year. In contention deep into the Masters, really until the 12th hole on Sunday. Interested to see what he can do and follow that performance up. Played pretty reasonably last week at Quail Hollow. Everyone loves Max. It would be awesome to see Max win a major at some point in his career, hopefully sooner than later, and I'm sure we'll all be rooting. So Johnny has Rory, Xander, and Ludwig as his 3. Mark has Scotty, Spieth, and Tiger. And I got Brooks and the Live Boys and Max. I feel like I finished a distant third, really not being able to get one of those top 2 picks. Again, there's no winners or losers here, guys, though. I mean, we all did a good job of diving into these storylines for sure. So you should really feel proud of yourself for digging in, writing some ideas down. Appreciate the thoughts as we did this exercise.
Yeah, well, you know what? I mean, you threatened to never have us on the podcast ever again, so we kind of just had to.
Yeah,
no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Do what you got to do. By the way, Mark, 5 guys have won the Grand Slam: Tiger, Jack, Player, Sarazen, and Hogan. So we're at 5.
I didn't remember if it was 5 or 6, but yes.
Had to look that up while we're talking. That segment ran a little bit long, so I'm cutting a couple of these ideas out just for time's sake, guys. Mark, I think I can't remember the last time you've been on for a major pod, but traditionally we like to throw out our one of our top players to not win. And the goal, Mark, is to really, you want to fly close to the sun on this one. If you could pick the guy that finishes 3rd, it would be ideal. Famously, I picked Colin Morikawa at the 2021 Open and to not win, and he certainly won. But I think since then we've had a lot of success with picking the top player to not win. So I think I'm going to start with Johnny. Who is your top player to not win this week?
Top player not to win. The guy I really want to say I'm not going to, because he probably will. I'm going to still stick with Colin Morikawa, and I think this golf course fits him really well. And but the putting is still not there, and I don't. I think he'll play well. So like if betting him, I might look at like a top 10 or top 20 market because he's got a pretty decent number at 30 to 1. But as far as will he win, I don't think he will because I don't think he could put four good putting rounds together. I think he's getting close. He's definitely starting to trend upward as being a little bit more consistent with stuff with his golf game, especially with that short game. But when middle of the summer last year when he was hitting his irons great again and he's driving the ball very, very well. It seemed like he was going to take that next step and then, play great and carry that into 2024 and just hasn't. I think he kind of hit a low point early this season, but it's moving forward. However, I am going to say he is not going to win this week. My other guy I was going to say Rory, but I just, I don't feel 100% confident at that.
Yeah, Morikawa is interesting because looking at data golf, I was looking at some of the stats yesterday, and it really hasn't been hitting his irons that great this year. It's been short game, especially around the green. He's been getting up and down, and short game's been as good as it's been in a while. His putting, he's gained strokes putting, but his iron game, like he's lost strokes to the field in 3 of the last 5 events just with his irons, which is really not Morikawa like. So you wonder if he would actually have a week where he hits his irons well, what that might look like with him just kind of having one of his best seasons around the green. All right, so Morikawa, uh, Mark, who do you got? Who's the top player not to win?
Scotty Scheffler. Scotty
Wow.
Scheffler. I just think
Wow.
Wow.
like you guys I don't understand how I don't I just don't understand how he can I think he'll be there. I really do. And I think it'll be a shock to the world. I think that he's going to be in the hunt and doesn't get it done. I just it's just a gut feeling and it's I think it's a little bit of I don't care who you are, right? Like there's rust. Like I think like Tiger or like Johnny mentioned, look at Tiger when he was able to capture the Masters in 19 and look at um all the top players. I think each guy has a very specific, whether it's documented or not, I think each player probably has a pretty detailed prep, for any major championship. And I bet you they're pretty darn structured to that preparation, whether that's play the week before, play 2 weeks before, go early, fly into town the week of or the week prior and play 36 holes and chip and putt or whatever. I just don't think Scheffler's routine, obviously, with the birth of their first child, I think that plays a huge role. Um, I don't think the guy needs to be any more grounded. You talk about like certain guys, it's like that puts it into perspective. I don't think Scheffler was lacking that perspective. Um, but I just don't foresee, I just don't think he can. I shouldn't say I don't think he can. I highly doubt that he is going to win. I mean, if he wins, the guy's an alien. Like he is out of this world if he wins, and I will be the first person um to say that, shame on me for doubting him. Uh, I just think his run has been so special that it's almost like the Colts starting the season 13-0, and it's like, no, I'm serious. Like or the college basketball team that runs off 24 games in a row and then they lose the conference championship game only to kind of get that set back down to reality. I just think like maybe it's like I don't know if you've ever heard of the gambler's fallacy, and right, and it's basically like if you flip a coin, right, and tails comes up 8 times in a row, right, it's not any more likely that heads is going to come up the ninth time. But I just don't think he can do it. I think odds I just think three wins in as many starts at a major championship, welcoming a baby. I just don't think it's going to happen.
I think you are could be right. You may be right. I can't say it definitively. I mean, having kids and knowing what that's like initially, it is totally a whirlwind. Um, and it would be incredible to for him to go out and win, especially after being off a few weeks after Heritage. I definitely get what you're saying.
Well, let me say something to that. That's a great point about, a lot of these guys are creatures of habit, and they prepare for the majors a certain way. I felt Scotty Scheffler won Heritage, just wasn't even thinking, didn't care, probably didn't want to be there, but it was an elevated event, and he had committed to it and wasn't going to break his commitment, and just kind of played okay, just like a whatever for the first 2 rounds, and was like, oh shit, I'm like at the lead or near the lead. I might as well just keep playing and everything like that. So yeah, that's an interesting. It's a bold prediction by Mark. Very on brand and respected. Um, so if you're, obviously the bettors are listening to this, you know, if you don't want to miss out, then you got to bet him. But it's just one of those things that you don't know how he's going to come out Thursday putting. I mean, putting's been his thing. He's not a guy who just picks up the putter and has a day with it. I mean, it feels like he has to kind of ease his golf game or his short game or his putting game for that matter into a tournament, and that's whether that's a practice tournament or whatever. So that would be a little buyer beware for me if I was on the fence about Scotty.
You know who we never talk about that just had a kid recently in any of the same way that we're talking about Scotty, but especially with perspective, Brooks, right? They just had a baby what last 2 or 3 months. And no one cares because they probably think, well, Brooks doesn't really give a shit anyways.
Brooks doesn't care.
Brooks is
It's not gonna affect him.
Phil Brooks is Gronk, man. Come on. Like
Yeah,
he is
yeah.
he is Gronk.
I just think it's hilarious the comparing the two, right? Like, oh yeah, I guess he did have a kid, huh? Yeah, that's cool. And then Scotty, it's just there's been so much publicity made and about the whole thing, and it's just interesting. Um, my pick to not win, um, I mean, I give you two of them. I just give you the pair of Xander and Cantley. They're not going to, and maybe that's a cop out. Maybe it's too easy. But Xander is the third favorite in the field. He's 14-1. Cantley has really slid back, but Cantley his form's been a little bit off the last 2 months, and I said everything I needed to say about Xander earlier. Not a killer. Just don't trust him. Don't trust anything about him on Sunday in a major. So those two are easy.
Way to cop out.
I can keep going. I don't think John Rahm's going to win either, but that's a bonus.
Yeah. No, Cantley's interesting because he'll be like bad for a long, long time, and then just all of a sudden, completely out of the blue, uh, he'll win a tournament, and he's just the most frustrating person to bet because you could get a 56th place finish or the occasional win there. So yeah, that's always a weird one. He's always a weird one for me.
Um, before we get to our picks to win, for time purposes, not going to go through the odds board, but Johnny, I want to give you the opportunity if there was a couple, 2, 3, 4 bets that you've either made or you really like. This is such a fascinating betting week because I mentioned it earlier to Johnny that there has to be just such strong money coming in on Scotty and Rory. I have not all the majors that we've been betting since Indiana legalized sports betting. I have never seen such drifts on top players like I've seen this week. I mean, to see Dustin Johnson at 90 to 1 it is truly jarring. Jordan Spieth at some books at 80 is you almost wonder if you're reading it wrong. So I'm interested, Johnny, if you got some real value plays on your list here.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously with a huge jump in the odds. There's a lot of guys with some good value there. So just real quick, the golf course is a real long golf course. I think it's like 76,000 yards or 7,600 yards, excuse me. And they've gotten a lot of rain, like we have there in Indiana. So I think it's a big-ish ballpark that's going to play even bigger. So I think it's going to favor dudes who hit it long. Um, I do like Brooks this week. I do like Jason Day, not necessarily to win, but he's been playing some really good golf. And he gets it far enough out there to play well. Ben On was at 55 to 1. I don't think Ben On's going to win, but Ben On played pretty good this weekend at Wells Fargo, so he'd be a good one there. Sepp Straka's been playing really good golf. I saw him at 90 to 1 on the DraftKings sports book. Again, if you like at a top 10 or top 20 market, um, one number that did surprise me was Bob McIntyre at 400 to 1. Played pretty good in Myrtle Beach. Not going to win at 400 to 1, but I mean, you could get a top 40. I bet at a real good number there. And I'll withhold my other guy when we say who's going to win. And the final guy is very intriguing. Who's played some real good golf this year is Taylor Moore. Taylor hits it a long ways. Good solid player. I didn't see what his number was. I was looking through some names and I'm like, oh shit, I really like what he is. I gotta figure he's way down the board there. So those are some names that I wrote down here that I'm a pretty big fan of, that I like their numbers. And like I said, I may not play a lot of these guys to win. I'm gonna probably play them more in the top 20, 30, or 40 markets.
Yeah. You mentioned Bob McIntyre. What about Goddard 300 to 1?
Gotterup's not a bad option. Well, I mean, dude hits it even a mile, so yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's another one as well. I would say less of him because winning just to get in. It's just one of those things that probably wasn't planning on playing this week. So,
Sure.
but
Can I just say how upsetting it is that I've been betting Chris Goddard for like a year plus, and then to not be part of the maiden victory. It is truly upsetting when that happens, and I feel like it's happened a couple times. I digress. Mark, have you had a chance to look at any of the odds boards on FanDuel, DraftKings?
Yeah.
Any plays that you like?
Yeah, there are numerous that I really kind of stand out to me, but I'll just hit on a couple. I like Johnny mentioning Sepp Straka, obviously playing well, just an incredibly stupid accurate driver of the ball. Not the longest guy on the planet, but I think he's going to be playing from the fairway. And I think we talked about, um, there's going to be a premium on driving the ball and accurately. Um, I like Matt Fitzpatrick plus 550 for a top 10. Um, I like Will Zalatoris plus 1100 for a top 5. And then I'm going to give you a flyer, certainly not my pick, but two quick flyers that are going to get small bets for me. One, Sahith Theegala to win. I just think
like
Yep,
yeah, I think his game, um, I think he's got big time talent, and I think he's looking for I think it could be a potential breakout. And then this one, I don't know what your guys' take on this next guy, but obviously a two-time winner already, Akshay Bhatia. Okay, hear me out here.
it's Johnny's guy.
Is it okay? Perfect. So yeah, I think. Look, is his game great? Is he in the best of form? I think he finished like tied for, I don't know, I mean, he was well down in the pack at Wells Fargo, but I can't recall who his pairing was, but it just stood out to me. Again, the PGA Championship, I don't think that's a guy that's going to win. I don't think he's quite got the moxie, the craftiness, if you will, to win an Open Championship, to win a Masters, to win a U.S. Open, but a PGA Championship, a Sahith Theegala or an Akshay Bhatia, they're going to get small bets from me.
I'm glad you
I like
mentioned. Glad you mentioned Theegala. Johnny and I have been texting back and forth about some this was last week, about bets we liked, and Theegala was a guy we both mentioned and we both like, and he's really played well this year in a lot of the elevated events, and I just like him. I think he knows how to get the ball in the hole, and really seems to elevate his game at the bigger events. So I like that pick, Mark. I'm going to start kind of at the bottom. Keegan Bradley's not going to win this tournament, but he is 220 to 1.
unbelievable number.
It's unreal.
Unbelievable.
So if you don't think he's going to win, sure, I'm fine with that. But the top 10 on Keegan is 12 to 1, and certainly a golf course that you would think sets up well for him. Great ball striker.
Oh yeah.
Just putt reasonably. Even the top 20, I think, is around plus 400, plus 450. So Keegan that's one of my favorite bets this week is I might do a ladder play on Keegan Bradley of all people. I do like, there's a certain world where I think Dustin Johnson can play well and might play well. He also could do what he did at Augusta and missed the cut by a wide margin. I don't know, but this used to be the type of golf course setup that DJ 5-6 years ago would absolutely be one of the 2 or 3 guys that could win. So again, when I see 90 to 1 next to his name, it's going to be hard for me not to place at least a small wager, because I did mention before the Masters that I do think there might be this version of DJ where he might have one late major in his career. Wishful thinking, maybe. Hideki at 75 to 1. Johnny's picked to win the Masters a couple weeks ago. 75 to 1, I think, is a really good number. And I think we all remember what he did at Riv. And I think he's played some of, 3rd, 4th best golf this season, maybe behind Scotty, Wyndham, those guys. So I do like that number. JT at 55, I'm in. I can't, I just can't do it. I can't say no. It's too good of a narrative, I really don't think he's played terribly this season. He had a couple rough putting weeks that really made it look worse, but ball striking's been decent. Played okay at Quail, finished top 5 at Heritage. It's Justin Thomas, man. It's 55 to 1. So I'm in on that as well. My last play is going to be my win bet. I'll save that as well. Okay. Picks to win the PGA Championship, Mark Beneke.
I'm going to go with Bryson DeChambeau. I think that Bryson, I feel
YouTube
like
golfer.
What's that?
I said the YouTube golfer.
The YouTube
with
golfer.
with the 3D printed clubs, winning his second major.
Yeah, I just think that I think what he showed at Augusta National, more so, I just think we've talked a lot, whether it was about we talked a lot about Scotty Scheffler's perspective and kind of how that's such a huge asset for him. I just think I bought into Bryson. I think it's a changed Bryson. I think his mind is it's nothing for, I mean, not that it carries anyway. I just think he's more mature. I think his game's ready, and I think it's time that he kind of shows people that he's still one of the best one of the best guys out there. And so I Bryson DeChambeau is my pick to win the 2024 PGA Championship.
My wife will occasionally, she follows all this very loosely. She'll occasionally say, "Hey, who's the guy that said he was going to live till he's 135?" And I was like, "Oh, that's Bryson." She's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is he still crazy?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, he is, but it's he's harmless, you know." Johnny, pick to win PGA Championship.
I kind of wish you would have asked me first, because I picked Bryson as well. Like
Whoa,
I can't believe it when Mark said that he picked Bryson DeChambeau, because I was like, you know what? He's not totally flying on the radar there. He's got, his 28 to 1's a little bit of a, of a number there that shows he's one of the favorites, but it just doesn't feel like Brooks is going to win two PGAs in a row. And I agree with Mark on Scotty. And I said a few minutes ago, Rory wasn't going to win there. And it was like, Bryson, you know what? He showed me some good stuff at the Masters. Um, we don't know quite what form he's going to be in and everything, but when I heard that it was going to be a really long golf course and whatnot, it was like, you know what? This might be something that's going to fit him. And when you were talking earlier in the podcast, you were saying, that the PGA is, another one that he could win. After winning at Winged Foot and everything, I was like, God, these guys are going to pick my guy here, and you both did kind of. So, but I really like him this week. I don't know. It just feels like, it just feels like he, with the live stuff, they don't give him the attention that he normally is used to having. And, when he doesn't talk as much in front of the microphones and everything and just focuses more on playing golf, it seems like he plays better golf doing that. So that's two for Bryson.
stunning, stunning. Um, I am not picking Bryson. I do like him this week, though. I think he has a good week. My pick does does reside on the live golf circuit, the exhibition circuit known as live golf. Do you see this? Is he still sponsored by them? I'm going with Brooks
I
Koepka to
don't know.
win his sixth major championship. I just there's just this trust I have in him to show up at these things, and the PGA seems to be his gig, and he has owned this major for a few years now, and I think he's got so much moxie, and he truly believes there's like 8 guys that can beat him, and he may not be wrong in that take. He may have. When I heard it, I'm like, this guy's crazy, and then the more I thought about it, I'm like, God, he's right. He is right, and I'm just not. I just refuse to overlook him anymore. This is all he cares about. He does not give a shit about PGA Tour events. He doesn't give a shit about live events. He just wants to win majors. He wants to get to that 8, 9 number, whatever he ends up at. And I really, really like him this week. So Pepper wins. Go
So my two
Michelob.
favorites. So my two favorites are Brooks and Bryson.
Wow, what a world!
This
What
is
a world!
a chalky show here.
Well,
Very.
if I get a second, Matt Fitzpatrick.
That's a bold one. That's a bold one. I do like Fitzpatrick at majors more than I do at regular tour events.
Yeah.
And if I got a second, Wendy C, Wyndham Clark. It's a really good setup for Clark, whose number has slid just because he had a bad tournament that last week. This dude could have without Scotty, could have 4 wins this year.
Yeah.
All right, guys. PGA Championship, Louisville. I think it's going to be awesome. Hopefully, have an epic, epic week. appreciate both of your time, Johnny Strouser, Mark Beneke. The dream team was back, and it was lovely. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Phil.
All right, guys, catch us on YouTube. All of our episodes are up there, also Spotify and Apple. Enjoy the PGA Championship. Catch you next time.